गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। भवानी शंकरौ वन्दे श्रद्धा विश्वासरूपिणौ याभ्यां विना न पश्यन्ति सिद्धाः स्वान्तस्थमीश्वरम्। सर्वदेश सदाशिवम् सर्वदेश सदाशिवम् सर्वकाल सदाशिवम् सर्वकाल सदाशिवम् सर्ववस्तु सदाशिवम् सर्ववस्तु सदाशिवम् सर्वव्याप्ति सदाशिवम् सर्वव्याप्ति सदाशिवम् सर्वदेश सदाशिवम् सर्वदेश सदाशिवम् सर्वकाल सदाशिवम् सर्वकाल सदाशिवम् सर्ववस्तु सदाशिवम् सर्ववस्तु सदाशिवम् सर्वव्याप्ति सदाशिवम् सर्वव्याप्ति सदाशिवम् सत्यात्मा सदाशिवम् सत्यात्मा सदाशिवम् ब्रह्मात्मा सदाशिवम् ब्रह्मात्मा सदाशिवम् अहमात्मा सदाशिवम् अहमात्मा सदाशिवम् परमात्मा सदाशिवम् परमात्मा सदाशिवम् प्रत्यगात्म सदाशिवम् प्रत्यगात्म सदाशिवम् स्वस्वरूप सदाशिवम् स्वस्वरूप सदाशिवम् अहमात्मा सदाशिवम् अहमात्मा सदाशिवम् परमात्मा सदाशिवम् परमात्मा सदाशिवम् प्रत्यगात्म सदाशिवम् प्रत्यगात्म सदाशिवम् स्वस्वरूप सदाशिवम् स्वस्वरूप सदाशिवम् संगहीन सदाशिवम् संगहीन सदाशिवम् कूटस्थं सदाशिवम् कूटस्थं सदाशिवम् संगहीन सदाशिवम् संगहीन सदाशिवम् कूटस्थं सदाशिवम् कूटस्थं सदाशिवम् सदाशिवं 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 नमः शिव सदाशिवं नमः शिव सदाशिवं नमः शिवं नमः शिवं नमः शिवं नमः शिवं नमः शिव सदाशिवं नमः शिव सदाशिवं 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 नमः शिव सदाशिवं नमः शिव सदाशिवं नमः शिव सदाशिवं नमः शिव सदाशिवं यस्मिन् ज्ञाने भवेत् सर्वम् विज्ञातं परमात्मनि तं वन्दे नित्यविज्ञानम् आनन्दमजमव्ययम् आनन्दमजमव्ययम् यदज्ञानादभूद्वैतम् ज्ञाते यस्मिन् निवर्तते रज्जुसर्पवदत्यन्तम् तं वन्दे पुरुषोत्तमम् तं वन्दे पुरुषोत्तमम् यस्योपदेशदीधित्या चिदात्मानः प्रकाशते नमः सद्गुरवे तस्मै स्वाविद्याध्वान्तभानवे स्वाविद्याध्वान्तभानवे हरिः ओम। If the purpose of the human existence is to evolve, then this world as it is the perfect place to evolve. There need not be any change in the present way of the existence of the world. The world is the place where people undergo suffering because of the bad karma, and they get rid of the bad karma by becoming more pure, and they overcome it, and then they acquire more punya karma, and thereby ascend to higher levels of evolution. Punya karma, sat karma will help the individuals to attain to higher levels. But the negative karma, the bad karma that had been done, had to be cleared. It has to be exhausted. So all such things happen in this world here. So this is a perfect place for evolution. Not only that, this world offers wide range of choices and opportunities. From the grim to the exalted, from criminality to nobility, from fear to courage, from despair to hope, from greed to charity, from ignorance to knowledge, from bondage to liberation. Such a wide scope of choices and opportunities. But it is a choice what we want to choose. Either way we can choose. There are people who choose both, either this or that. But this is an opportunity. So many opportunities are there for us to evolve. So amongst these wide range of choices that are available, we have the freedom to choose. And then utilize the opportunities that are available so that we evolve. So when we choose knowledge, we overcome the ignorance. Hastamalakiyam is an opportunity for us to make our choices very clear. Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji also in his Bhashya is making us the choice very clear that this is an opportunity to choose the knowledge and overcome the ignorance, to choose the nobility and get out of the criminality, to choose hope, come out of the despair, to choose charity, come out of the greed, to choose the exalted and get out of the grim, to choose courage and overcome the fear, and finally to choose liberation and get out of bondage. Even when these two things are available, but the great masters make our understanding clear so that we choose the right thing. That is the reason why Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji also decided to write Bhashya on that which his Sishya delivered. Very rare that such a thing happens. By making our choices clear, we choose a spiritual life. Spiritual life means spiritual practice is there regularly. We involve in spiritual practice. There is a practical way of living the spiritual life, not merely discussing theories or once in a while reading some book and then having some fun. A practical spiritual living, that is what is spiritual life. So, when the life becomes spiritual, when the practice is regular, then the individual learns to observe the contents of the life. Whatever is happening, everything reflects as a content in the human mind. So whatever is happening, when it appears as a content in the mind, so this individual who is following the spiritual life, spiritual practices are there regularly performed, then all the contents that are there in the mind, the contents of spiritual life, are observed without commenting, without criticizing, without passing judgments. Three things: without commenting, without criticizing, without passing judgments. When there is no spiritual practice, when the individual has not understood the importance of spiritual practice, mere theory is there in the mind, that also once in a while, for a change or for a break, then this commenting will not stop. The moment the mind comments, whatever content is there, if it comments, it gets involved with the content. Commenting is a way of identifying with it and getting involved with it. When we are involved with it, where is spiritual practice? We are going into the content. Not only commenting later on leads to criticism. Initially it is a comment, later on it is a criticism. Then we pass a judgment inside our mind. We become judge and pass a judgment. The moment we pass a judgment, the divisions are there. Then the disintegration starts. Disparities are there. Diversion starts. Downfall begins. Because the contents are leading us into the downfall. Only a person who is living a spiritual life really with regular spiritual practices understands the importance of observing the contents of spiritual life without commenting, without criticizing, without judging. When these three things are not there, then the individual becomes detached from the commentary of life. Otherwise, everybody has one's own commentary about life. You ask anybody how life is, they have their commentary. And this is this commentary which makes us get attached to life. Because I am commenting, I am writing a commentary, and then criticism is there, judgments are there. These are all tricks of the ego to keep us attached to the life, attached to these contents. Detachment is not running away, disowning things. Detachment is refraining from commenting, criticizing and judging, and yet remaining in peace with ourselves. Otherwise there is a tendency inside, we need to comment. So only when we stop commenting, criticizing and judging, then we get into detachment. When we get into detachment, then we slowly transcend opinions, likes, dislikes, attractions, aversions. We have to transcend all of them. How can we transcend likes and dislikes, attractions and aversions, opinions? Only when we are able to detach. And when can we detach? When we refrain from commenting, criticizing and judging. And when can we do that? When we understand the real spiritual practical living, the importance of that. Otherwise, unless the individual understands this, the attachment remains, the criticizing, commenting, judging remains. Never the individual will transcend likes and dislikes, attractions and aversions. Years will pass by, but no transcendence. And then the individual thinks nothing is happening to me. Nothing will ever happen. Only when we transcend the opinions, likes, dislikes, at least attempt to transcend, at least deserve transcending opinions, likes, dislikes, attractions and aversions. Then what happens? The ego's mechanical habit of projecting me onto everything. The ego has got a habit of projecting oneself onto everything. Whatever happens, it projects itself onto that. Then gets involved, identified and drowned in that. That is why ego is getting affected with everything. Everything that happens has a say on the ego. And ego reacts to everything. Because it is a habit of projecting oneself onto everything. Whatever happens, I project myself onto that. Then I bring in my own thought patterns, my likes, dislikes onto that, and then I start analyzing and thinking according to my mind. And then I go on getting more and more drowned in that. So when this ego's habit of projecting itself or the me onto everything is withdrawn, then the mind becomes quiet. The quietude of the mind can be experienced and enjoyed when the ego's, the mechanical habit of projecting itself onto everything is withdrawn. Why we are not able to find peace and quietude? It is only because we as an ego are always projecting ourselves onto the world, the incidents, the happenings, whatever is there, and then we get identified with it. That is why the quietude is not there. That is why it is missing. The ego gets trapped and gets entangled because of its projections, mechanical habit of projections. Trapped, entangled. So we need to get out of the trap and entanglement. Then only mind becomes quiet. Then only there will be peacefulness at the level of our experience. Now it is at the level of theory, an intellectual concept. Then it will come into the level of experience. Then the individual becomes aware. Hastamalaka was aware, was peaceful, was quiet. That is what was the complaint. He is so peaceful and so quiet that he doesn't want to react only to anything. That is what Father Prabhakara's complaint to Adi Shankaracharya ji. He doesn't react to anything. So then what happens when this individual is in this level of peacefulness, quietude and awareness? The sense of I, the I inside, I, that moves from the content to the experiencer, from the experiencer to the observer. Where is now this I? In the content only. I didn't like this, I don't like that, I don't accept this, I accept that, you be like this, always in the content. So where is the question of shifting of that I from the content to the experiencer? Then it knows the content is different, I as an experiencer am different. Then from the experiencer to the observer. Observer is untouched by any experience that happens. That is why Hastamalaka was in the level of that an observer. So whatever experience happened, he did not react. The friends called him to play, he did not respond. He didn't find playing interesting. The friend started beating. He didn't feel that he has to respond also. Because he thought nobody is making anything happen. Everything is happening by itself. See that level of understanding. It is not incapability. It is the level of greatest ability. What is there to respond? He is not even identified with the body. He is not even identified with the actions of others. He is in such a level of awareness that neither his body identification is there, nor he is judging, commenting, criticizing the people who are beating him. Hastamalaka. Practical living only. He is not even commenting, not even criticizing, not even complaining, not even reacting. They beat also is just like that. That's what Father said to Adi Shankaracharya. They beat also is not responding. Ask him to play also is not responding. Alphabets he doesn't know. I am expert in Veda and I want to make my son also expert. Alphabet ही नहीं आता अब क्या पढ़ाना उसको? He is a congenital idiot. That's what Father thinks. But this fellow is an observer. This fellow is fully aware. This fellow is fully quiet. So quiet and so peaceful that nothing shakes him from that level of quietude. Physical shaking, mental shaking, incident shaking, nothing is shaking him. Nothing touched that boy. That Hastamalaka's mind was so peaceful that there were no thoughts, let alone opinions. No opinions. He is so contented, so peaceful, no opinion. And we are so restless, always opinions. And not only that we carry opinions, we call people, make them sit beside us and dump our opinions in their dimag. This is our free contribution to others. Hey, you did not think this way? You are so happy with that situation, with that person. How can we be happy, yaar? You think this way. Take my opinion. Let your garbage can receive it. I am dumping my opinion and then you get disturbed. Then I am comfortable with you. क्या लोग है भाई दुनिया में? अपने माइंड में पीस नहीं है, दूसरे का माइंड में भी पीस कैसा रहना? How can you be peaceful? So I contribute my opinions, my criticism, my dust. Because filter is not there in your mind, you also accept. For me, it is a time pass in my way. For you, it is a time pass in your way. And both are off the way. So, Hastamalaka, his mind was in such a level that there were no thoughts, no opinions. Because he was rooted in that awareness. That is why he said, when he gave that answer, नाहं मनुष्यो न च देव यक्षौ न ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय वैश्य शूद्राः न ब्रह्मचारी गृही न वनस्थो. Finally, what he said? भिक्षुर्न चाहं निजबोध रूपः. निजबोध रूपः. निजबोध. I am ever in that eternal awareness. The real awareness which is connected with the consciousness. Nija bodha rupaha. So then in that level there is only knowingness. Awareness knows. It doesn't think. Mind really doesn't know from that level of awareness. So it keeps on thinking. Mind knows only through thinking. Consciousness and awareness doesn't think, they merely know. They illumine and they know. Mind doesn't illumine because it has no capacity to illumine. But mind thinks and knows. Mind's knowing is only through vritti. The knowing of awareness is not through vritti. Is not through thought process. They directly know. That's the difference between the knowing of awareness and the knowing of mind. So the knowing of mind is called as thinkingness. Always think, no. Only through thinking you know. But Hastamalaka was not thinking and trying to know. He was just being in awareness and he knows automatically. That's the difference. A mind always thinks and reacts. Awareness just knows, observes, witnesses. Hastamalaka was in that level. That is why there was no need for him to write a commentary on incidents that are happening. He was so fulfilled in himself, with himself, irrespective of what was the external situation. The fulfillment was optimum. So he never felt any need to talk only. There was so much of inner silence that he was so deeply into that he didn't feel like talking. He never spoke. क्या करना बात करके? बात करना क्यों? We don't know what to do. That's why we keep on calling everybody, talking to everybody. This is what this goes on. Because he knows he is beyond all doing. और doer ही नहीं है उसमें. क्या doing? Thinker ही नहीं है. The thinker also is set aside. So he knows that everything happens by itself. Nobody, nothing makes it happen. He is in that level. From that level of conscious awareness, he knows everything happens. So he just allowed everything to happen. Never wanted to interfere with anything. So his mind stopped talking. When anybody's mind stops talking, one is aware of one's life as not different from awareness. The mind has to stop talking. Then what happens? Just as before the individual was immersed in mind, now the individual is immersed in awareness. Immersed in knowingness, not in thinkingness. Otherwise, as of now, right now, generally a common man or a woman is involved thinking. Compulsive thinking, forceful thinking, habitual thinking, restless thinking, continuous thinking. But the rare individual like Hastamalaka, because of Punya Atishaya, Adi Shankara has already told in his introduction. Yesterday we saw that. There is a rare individual. Generally there are common people who always have the desire to go for happiness and get rid of misery. Because naturally everybody has a natural feeling without anybody instigating or instructing. That I want happiness, I want to get rid of misery. Yes, yesterday we saw that Shankara Bhashya points. So rare individual is there who has gained lot of punya. Because of that punya, that individual understands that the pleasures that are there in the world are engulfed by misery. Temporarily they might be giving some little bit of exaltation, but later on it will only be ending up in misery. So they don't want to get into it. They get away from it. And then they want to get out of the bondage of samsara. So they keep trying to put forth more efforts. And then when they continuously put forth efforts, as a result of that and the grace from the above, they come across a Satguru who knows that ignorance binds, knowledge liberates. Because of the ignorance, because of the bondage, there is grief, there is restlessness, there is peacelessness, there is dissatisfaction, there is discontentment. So in order to go beyond that, one needs to gain knowledge. That is where such a Sadguru starts teaching. This is where we concluded the Shankara Bhashya yesterday. So, Hastamalaka's mind stopped talking. He was just one with life as awareness and was immersed in it. So, there was no egocentricity in Hastamalaka to react to the worldly incidents. Egocentricity completely diminished. As the egocentricity diminishes, so the joy rises in the individual. Uncaused joy, independent joy rises in the individual. Otherwise, every now and then we have to ask, you make me happy, you give me joy. Whether we ask people or objects or situations, always we are asking. Everybody is asking only. Not only those people who are begging on the streets, we are also begging continuously. As that egocentricity goes down, so the joy rises in the individual. Independent joy, not dependent upon anything, anyone. Such a joy rises. That is the joy that individual has to attain. But egocentricity has to go down. And along with that joy, freedom increases. The real freedom. No bondage of any kind, no shackles of any kind. That is the real freedom. And when that freedom increases, when that joy is there, when the egocentricity has gone down, the individual stops reacting to the life's situations. Irrespective of life situations, individual will be quiet, peaceful, contented, happy, joyous, and really free. What a level is this? What a state is this? Hastamalaka was in this state. Adi Shankara was in that state. So Adi Shankaracharya knew the moment he looked at Hastamalaka. Hastamalaka, when he prostrated to Adi Shankaracharya, he also understood. Whatever he is experiencing, that content is there. That is what he comes across in Adi Shankaracharya. When the two individuals of that caliber, when they meet, what comes out? That is what has happened. Hastamalakiyam came out. So, yesterday the last line of Adi Shankaracharya's Bhashya said, the Sadguru begins to teach. So here, Hastamalaka begins to explain. Nimittam manaschakshuradhi pravruttau nirastakhilopadhirakasha kalpaha ravirlokacheshta nimittam yadhayaha sanityopalabdhiswarupohamatma sanityopalabdhiswarupohamatma nimittam manaschakshuh आदि प्रवृत्तौ निरस्ताखिलोपाधि आकाशकल्पः रविर्लोकचेष्टा निमित्तं यथायः सनित्योपलब्धिः स्वरूपोऽहमात्मा सनित्योपलब्धिः स्वरूपोऽहमात्मा स्वरूपोऽहमात्मा. So Hastamalakacharya ji starts the teaching of the essence of Vedanta as a response to the questions of Adi Shankaracharya ji. He already answered Bhikshurna Chaham Nijabodha Rupaha. We saw that explanation also very clearly. The one who has burned the Sanchitta karmas, Agami karmas. That is what when he said Bhikshuhu Na Chaham Nijabodha Rupaha. But later on now the teaching, actual teaching begins here. That is why Adi Shankaracharya also selected these verses for writing the Bhashya. Nimittam manaschakshuradi pravruttau nirastakhilopadhirakasha kalpaha ravirlokacheshta nimittam yadhayaha sanityopalabdhihi swarupohamatma. Yaha manaschakshuradi pravruttau nimittam. That which in the functioning of the mind, eye and other organs is nimittam, is the cause. That which in the functioning of the mind, eye and other organs is the cause. Yatha ravihi lokacheshta nimittam. Just as the sun is the cause of the activities of all living beings. So when the sun rises, all the living beings become very active. Nirastakhilopadhi akasha kalpaha. When devoid of all limiting adjuncts, he is like the space. So whatever is the cause, of all the activities of the mind, of the eye, of all the organs, like the sun being the cause for all the activities of all living beings, whatever is that cause, that when devoid of all limiting adjuncts, all upadis, is like space. Sanityopalabdhihi swarupohamatma. Sa nityopalabdhihi swarupaha atma aham. That which is of the nature of eternal conscious self, I am. I am that self. When we look into the deeper explanations here, I am the Atma or the self, which is of the nature of eternal consciousness. Sanityopalabdhihi swarupaham atma. This goes through in all the slokas. So, this eternal consciousness is the cause of the functioning of mind, eye and other organs. In the same way as the sun is the cause of the activities of all the living beings. But when not associated with the limiting adjuncts in the form of body, mind, intellect, memory, ego, etc., 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 sense organs, I, which is the self, am like this space. So then here we will go into the detail. Mana adini nimittam manaschakshuradi pravruttau. From that mana adini, Adi Shankaracharya chooses to explain these things. Mana adini, meaning mind, ego, intellect, chittam, all the four ingredients or components of antakarana and their vrittis. That's what Adi Shankaracharya says. Mana means, mana adini means mind also, intellect also, memory also, ego also, buddhi, manas, chitta, ahankara, along with its vrittis. That is what is mana adini. Then chakshuradini, nimittam manas chakshuradi pravruttau. So chakshuradini, eye, ear, nose, tongue, skin, all five jnanendriyas. Then vak adini, karmendriyas, speech, feet, hands, genital organ, excretory organ, all karmendriyas. So, for all the components of antakarana, for all jnanendriyas, organs of perception, and for all karmendriyas, organs of action, what is the cause for all these things to get into activity, for all these things to render their own respective functions in the field of their activity? What is making them do like that? And that which is the cause, which is called as nimittam, and that object here is called as aham. Sa nityopalabdhihi swarupo aham atma. So that is called as aham. Whatever is the cause which is making all these things function in their respective fields of activity, whether it is mind, intellect, memory, ego, or organs of action, organs of perception, whatever they are all functioning. That which makes them function is aham. And the meaning of the word aham is I am. And here aham padartha is Paramatma. Aham padartha here mentioned in this sloka is Paramatma. It is not the individual ego. That is why he says even that ego is enlivened and made to function. Who can do that? Only this aham padartha, which is Paramatma, that only can make everything function. So what is that object which is the cause for the function of all organs, internal and external? That object has consciousness alone as its nature. Consciousness alone as its nature, nothing else. Nitya upalabdhi swarupaha. This self, which is Atma, is pure consciousness, Nitya upalabdhi, which is present without a change in all the three states, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti, waking, dream and deep sleep. Nitya upalabdhi, always it is there. Eternal consciousness ever present in all the three states. of existence. In the waking state, it is because of this consciousness that the sense organs appear sentient. They appear to be conscious, sentient, and are able to reveal their respective objects. How do the sense organs reveal their respective objects? It is only because of the sentiency. And then how do they appear sentient? It is only because of this consciousness. That is how they can reveal form, touch, taste, smell, sound. They can reveal. Because of this sentiency, they can reveal all these things. So in waking state, the consciousness is present. In dream state, sense organs are dormant, but mind is active. It projects various things and it experiences its own projection in the light of the same eternal consciousness. All this happens in the light of the same eternal consciousness. Then in the deep sleep, the mind also is dormant. We have studied this very elaborately in All Full Nothingness. Very elaborately we studied this deep sleep state. So, the mind is dormant. And what is there? At that time, pure consciousness exists without any change. That is the reason why this everyday experience is taken here in a limited way. In a limited way here it is taken, and it is said that when we wake up from our sleep, we say, I slept happily and then I don't know. Taking these two things, it is said, the one who experiences only can say that he has slept happily. Because that avidya vritti is there, he says he doesn't know. So, the one who experienced only can say that what was the feeling in the deep sleep. So that is the reason why it is said here, only what has been experienced previously by a person can be subsequently remembered, that therefore it is clear that the pure consciousness existed even in the deep sleep when the mind became dormant and got merged into avidya. So that pure consciousness remains. So that is what it is said here, nitya upalabdhi swarupaha. This swarupa is nitya upalabdhi. There was one former railway employee who retired from that service, but because of the habit of observing the trains and then counting the bogies and reporting and all that, he was habituated. So, and another thing what happened is, even after the retirement, his house was just beside the railway line. House also. So naturally the trains keep passing by. While he was in service, he was especially given the job to look at the goods trains and write down the report and then send the reports also. So what happened? After many years also, he continued counting the bogies in the goods train. So he used to count 1, 2, 3, goods train. Passenger train, okay, but goods train. So many bogies will be there. And people, when they had to wait at the level crossing, they will really get impatient. How many bogies? What is this going on? So this used to go on, and all the family members know this, and all the relatives know this. Everybody knows. It goes on. It continued like that. One day, on a Sunday, all the relatives had a get together in this house. And that day, one of the relatives noticed that this man was not counting the bogies, even when the train passed by. He was not counting. So he went and asked, why are you not counting the bogies? He said, I don't work on Sundays. So even in that habitual counting after retiring from the work, 20-30 years after retiring also, he still follows that habitual pattern. I don't work on Sundays. The ego's habits are like that. Habitual involvement. That is why to get out of that habitual involvement, we need a spiritual practice. Otherwise, it's very difficult. We do not know. It is very difficult. Somebody asked, how do people work when they are working under the government grants? Government grants, how do they work? The answer was, like Columbus. They work like Columbus. When Columbus set out on his journey, he did not know where he was going. He did not know where he was going. When he got there, he did not know where he was. When he started, he did not know where he was going. When he reached, he did not know where he was. Like that, people work under government grants. Because there is nothing, nobody knows what work is happening, who is doing what. It goes on. Only one thing they will be knowing, how much they spent, how much they have to spend before the next budget is granted. Compulsive spending. Somehow they have to spend. This goes on. There was this man, Santo. His name was Santosh, but he cut it short, Santo. Santosh, no, Santo. And he was a psychiatrist. So he called another psychiatrist and then said, people are complaining about me, to me only, that I am not reachable. I am not reachable to my clients. They are complaining. What should I do? He is a psychiatrist, Santo. He calls another psychiatrist because that's how they do. When they are having problem, they call somebody. They are habituated to solving others' issues and they don't know how to solve theirs. So they will go and sit with somebody else. So he called another psychiatrist and said, my clients are complaining that I am not reachable. Then that psychiatrist immediately gave a suggestion, have a cell phone. Why don't you have a cell phone? Where is your cell phone? Cell phone. It is very harmful to have a cell phone. So I stopped using cell phone. Very harmful. Oh. Then okay. Then have email. Facebook, Twitter. Have email. No. I was told it is harmful to sit in front of computer because excessive radiation is harmful to health. Stop using computer. Whatever he suggested, he said no, I stopped using that because of this reason. So then that man asked, tell me how you can be reached. Best thing. Why go on giving suggestions to the fellow who is not ready to accept? Tell me how you can be reached. Then this man said now, Mr. Santo said, I have fixed one mailbox. Letters. Through letters I can be reached. But that also I have fixed that mailbox onto my car. Mailbox onto my car and I am always on the move. Abhi kaisa reach karenge? I am always on the move. Which postman will have the patience to chase this fellow and then deliver the letter? And he only says, moreover, it is very difficult to deliver letters to me because my pin code keeps changing. Because he is always on the move. Abhi kya bolna isko? He himself feels the problem. He himself is not ready to get the solution. He decides solution is impossible, but searches for the solution with that severity of the problem. That is how our mind will be when it is not detached and when it is too much attached with the world. We want to get out of it, but we don't. Outside we want because it is troublesome, but inside we don't because the habit keeps us fixed there. Externally we say, I don't want this, but internally I am hooked onto that. Because that is how the mind is, that is how the ego is, it is hooked on to that. It is connected with that. Manaschakshuradi pravruttau nimittam. Extending still further, it is said, cause of the activities of the mind, etc., and all organs, which are insentient. How? Little more elaborate explanation of what is already said. It is only by the light of pure consciousness. How it happens? That light of pure consciousness is reflected in the mind. And then when it is reflected in the mind acquires sentiency. Just as the light of the sun is reflected in the mirror doesn't have capacity to manifest that powerful light of the sun. It only reflects. Why? Because the sun is getting reflected in the mirror. Then when this mirror is focused onto the dark room also, in that dark room also, the reflection that is there in the mirror lights up that dark room. Sometimes the kids start playing, mirror, they take the reflection and put it onto the face of others and all. Kids play, it is fine. But when youngsters and elders play, they will impose fine. So, this goes on. So the light is passed on into the dark room by this mirror, which is only reflecting medium. Mind also is like that. It reflects the light of consciousness, it becomes sentient. Then the same light is reflected in the sense organs, they become sentient. That is how the consciousness makes the mind and sense organs active. Just because the sense organs receive the reflection that is already reflected in the mind, the consciousness got reflected in the mind, that again getting reflected in the senses, then they become sentient and they become active. The eye and other organs receive the reflection from the mind and then they also appear to have consciousness. It is because of this it is said that self is the cause of the activities of the mind, of the Jnanendriyas, of the Karmendriyas. But the self actually is actionless. It is actionless. It neither acts nor does it prompt the mind and the organs to act. The self is the cause only in the sense that in the mere presence of the consciousness, mind and sense organs become active. That is why it is called as nimittam manaschakshuradi pravruttau. It is nimitta. Nimitta doesn't mean actively prompting, act. No, in the presence, everything else starts acting. In the presence it happens. Once, Lalu Prasad Yadav was called to Indian Institute of Management to deliver lecture to the management students. They had a policy that to call many people from different walks of life who are successful. Successful he was, yes. How? Forget about it. He was successful. So, and then when he went there and he inquired about kya karte, and they went on telling management, a workshop, research, so many things they told. He got little confused. And then when he went to deliver, he told all those people, आप सभी लोगों को सक्सेसफुल मैनेजर बनना हो, एक ही सीखो, आराम से रहो, आराम से रहो, be relaxed, be at ease in life. And he said, for my sake of aram, I used to work with bhais. All buffaloes, they are relaxed, I am relaxed. They are cool and composed, I am also. Then the mind is composed. Then the business gets done. They were shocked. Ye kya bol raha hai? They thought some technique, some success story, some this, some that. You said business gets done when the mind is calm. Business gets done. And one intelligent student got up and said, "Sir, how? Tell me practically how." Then he said, it is like this. He said, I will also tell a practical example only. He said, I told my son to marry the girl of my choice. And my son said, no dad, I will marry the girl of my choice. Then Lalu Prasad told his son, but the girl that I am proposing to you is Ambani's daughter. Ambani's daughter. The moment Lalu Prasad's son heard this, Ambani's daughter, oh well, then I have to think and think. Then he knew, think means हो गया उसका, Ambani's daughter. So he accepted. Then he went to Ambani. And then Lalu Prasad tells Ambani, I have got one proposal for your daughter. My daughter? She is young. What proposal? No proposal, nothing. Then he said, but that fellow is Vice President of the World Bank. Vice President of the World Bank. Then Anil Ambani said, oh, Vice President of the World Bank. Then I need to think and discuss. Accepted. Then he goes to the President of the World Bank. Then he goes to the President of the World Bank and said, I have one proposal for you. I have one very good candidate to work under you as Vice President of the World Bank. And the President, I already have two presidents. Two Vice Presidents I already have. How many more Vice Presidents should I take? But he said, but that man is son-in-law of Ambani. Son-in-law of Ambani. And the President said, okay, appointed. And Lalu Prasad said, this is how business is done. One illusion after another illusion, placed one after another sequentially, gives an appearance of a reality. That's what it is. See how business can be done? Everything is illusory. Nothing was real. What he said. He just said to his son, Ambani's daughter, nothing was fixed. Then he went to Ambani, said, Vice President of World Bank. Then he said yes. Then he went to the President of World Bank. Ambani's son-in-law. Fixed. Finally everything got fixed. The foundation is illusory, but effects are there. Dunya bhi aisi hai. The foundation for the dunya is illusory. Maya. The effects are there. We are all undergoing effects. Just because we are undergoing effects, we can't say it is real. Unreal thing also can give effects. In dream is unreal. But when we wake up, suppose we are being chased by something, we have real effects only there. Perspiration will be there, heartbeat will be there, everything will be there. Just by looking at the effect, we can't say that there is reality behind it. No. That is the reason why Hastamalakacharya ji and Adi Shankaracharya ji are trying to lift us out of this bondage of ignorance. Take us into, transport us into the level of knowledge, whereby all the bondages, we get rid of all the bondages. So the next point, Yatha Ravihi Lokachesta Nimittam. Just as the sun is the cause of activities of all living beings. When the sun rises, every living being somehow or other sets oneself into activity. In the light of the sun, the activity begins. The sun merely provides the light for all so that they can get into activity. What kind of activity the person engages in, it is no way connected with the sun. The sun is not at all involved in it. The sun neither benefits from the activities of the people nor suffers because of the activities of the people. That's the beauty of it. The sun supports by giving the light. All activities are done because of the sun's light, but the sun is not benefited nor affected. Neither profit nor loss. In the same way, the conscious self gives that support, sentiency to the mind and the sense organs and makes them capable of performing the actions, but does not make anyone act in any particular manner. Similarly, just as the sun is not benefited, this conscious self also is neither benefited nor affected in a negative way. Neither experiences profit nor suffers loss. Neither adversely affected nor very positively affected by the good deeds of anyone or by the evil deeds of anyone. Self merely supports. In the presence of the self, all organs become sentient and then they start functioning. Just because they are made active, no actions will be attributed to the conscious self. No papa punyas can be attributed to the conscious self. No good and bad can be attributed to the conscious self. Even though without the conscious self, none of these things can become active. Sanityopalabdhihi swarupohamatma. Continuing further, it is said, Nirastakilopadirakasha kalpaha sanityopalabdhihi swarupohamatma. Nirastakilopadihi akasha kalpaha. When devoid of all limiting adjuncts, I am like space, or the cause is like space. The cause, which is consciousness, which makes everything active, is like space when devoid of all upadhis. Only from the Vyavaharika standpoint, which is called as empirical standpoint, in other words, transactional standpoint, the statement that self is the cause of activities is acceptable, is made. But from the higher standpoint, but from the ultimate standpoint, Paramarthika standpoint, the self has no connection whatsoever with the limiting adjuncts, which are mind and sense organs. The self has no connection whatsoever from the absolute standpoint. Only from the empirical, worldly standpoint, transactional standpoint, it is said self is the cause. From the absolute standpoint, no relationship, no connection whatsoever. That is the reason in Vedanta, the method that is adopted to impart the knowledge of Brahman is Adhyaropa Apavada, superimposition and subsequent denial of it. So, why there is no relationship with the self? Adi Shankaracharya says, the self cannot be directly described by any words because it has no quality. Number one, it has no activity. Number two, it has no relationship. Number three, no quality, no activity, no relationship. Suppose it has got a quality such as redness, brightness, and then it can be described with reference to that quality. No quality, no reference. Suppose a person performs some activity. Suppose the person is cooking. He is called as a cook. So he can be described with reference to that activity. Self doesn't cook, doesn't do any activity. So no quality, no activity. A stranger, if he is there, he can be identified by reference to his relationship. Whatever relationships he has, by reference to relationship, he can be identified. With a known person, we can identify a person whom we are trying to know. Because there is no relationship, we cannot ever describe a self with words. Self cannot be described with words because it has no quality, it has no activity, it has no relationship. Because of the absence of these three things, the self cannot be described at all by any means. That is the reason Vedanta Shastra adopts Adhyaropa Apavada. The self appears because of our ignorance of its real nature as bound by mind, sense organs, body, etc., etc., etc. This is apparent limitation. So, that is why it is said as it is the cause of all the activities. But from the point of view of ultimate reality, since self alone is real and absolutely self alone is the reality, it can have no association with the mind, which are not real from the absolute standpoint. They are not real from the absolute standpoint. So it cannot have any relationship. Just as Adi Shankaracharya gives a common example here, just as an object experienced in dream cannot have an association with an object known in the waking state. How can the dream object have a connection with the object in the waking state? It cannot have. Similarly, the self has no relationship with anything that is there. Just as the space which is infinite is referred to as pot space and room space, but pot and room do not really limit the space. Similarly, even though it is said body, mind, intellect, memory, ego, sense organs, they are all upadhis, but these upadhis can never ever limit the self. The self which is all pervading, pure consciousness, can never be limited by body, mind and intellect. It is only because of our ignorance of our real nature that we consider self as limited. It is never limited. By this comparison with the space, Adi Shankaracharya says in his Bhashya, it is also shown that the self is unattached and unaffected by pleasures and pains of the body and mind. The self is never affected by pleasure and pain of the body and mind. And even when the body is destroyed, self is not destroyed. Even when the pot is destroyed, the space is not destroyed. For the self it is immaterial, where the body survives or the body goes. That is why for a Jivan Mukta, who has gone beyond the body but still living in the body because of the prarabdha has to be exhausted, is unconnected with the body. Whether the body remains or falls, he doesn't bother. Whether the mind remains or falls, he doesn't bother. He is there as conscious self. So that is why that is what is Atma. Such an Atma is Nirupadhikam. Actually what is called as Atma in the highest sense according to Adi Shankaracharya ji is Nirupadhikam. It has no upadhis, no limiting adjuncts, no body, no mind, no intellect, no memory, no ego, no gnanendriyas, no karmendriyas, nothing. It is Nirupadhikam. That is why it is called as Akasha Kalpaha, like this space. Meaning it is Vishuddham, totally pure. Vishuddham, totally pure. It is Asangam. Atma is Asangam, completely unattached. Atma is Anantam, infinite and endless. There is no end to Atma. There is no finitude to Atma. It is infinite and endless. It is Anantam. It is Advayam. It alone exists. There is nothing else other than it. So it is non-dual. It is Vyapakam. It is all pervasive. There is nothing that can limit. Such Atma is what is called by Hastamalaka Swarupoham Atma. Sanityopalabdhi Swarupoham Atma. I am that Atma, hey Guru, which is unattached, which is pure, which is like the space, which is without upadhis, which is infinite, which is endless, which is non-dual, which is all pervasive. Sanityopalabdhi Swarupoham Atma. What a beautiful state is that. What an excellent level. That is what is Atma is. So Adi Shankaracharya ji in his beautiful work Mahavakya Darpanam, shloka number 180 in Mahavakya Darpanam, he says, Dehendriya prana manohamadhyaihi sahastita sannapi sangahinaha vyomeva meghairamalasvarupaha tvam pratyagatmasi sadashivosi tvam pratyagatmasi sadashivosi dehendriya prana manohamadhyai dehendriya prana manohamadhyai sahastita san api sangahinaha vyomeva meghaihi amalasvarupaha tvam pratyagatmasi sadashivosi tvam pratyagatmasi sadashivosi sadashivosi. Adi Shankaracharya ji says, he gives an example here. Vyomeva megaihi amala swarupaha. Space is covered by clouds. When we look at the space, various kinds of clouds, varieties of clouds cover the space. Yet, Sri Shankara says, the space has no relationship with clouds. Does space have any relationship with clouds? No relationship. It is unaffected, unconnected. No way the space can have any relationship with the clouds. So he says, similarly, Dehendriya prana manohamadhyaihi sahastita sannapi sangahinaha. Even though the Pratyagatma, which is inner self, is with the body, sense organs, prana, which is the life force, mind, ego, etc., it never entertains any relationship with them. Like the space entertaining no relationship with the clouds, the inner self, which is Pratyagatma, entertains no relationship with body, sense organs, prana, manaha, ahankara, ityadi. No relationship. It is always unattached. It is an unattached Atma Swarupam, Asanga Atma Swarupam. And we are that only. So we are also like that actually. That Atma, in that level of the Atma, when we see that this is the Atma which has no attachment at all, no relationship at all with any of these upadis, like this space which has no connection with the clouds, then Adi Shankaracharya says, Sacha Atma, Tvam Pratyagatmasi, Sadashivosi, Tvam Pratyagatmasi. You are not the body. You are not the mind, intellect, memory, ego, just as you are thinking. Tvam what? Tvam Pratyagatmasi. You are such a Pratyagatma which has no limitation, no relationship with any one of these things. No connection whatsoever. And what is that Pratyagatma? Tvam Pratyagatmasi Sadashivosi. You are Sadashiva himself. This Pratyagatma is Shiva, the absolute auspiciousness, ever absolute auspicious supreme self. Tvam Pratyagatmasi Sadashivosi. So Adi Shankara says, such an Atma is called as Brahman. So that is why it is called as this Atma is Sadashiva Swarupa, of the form of Shiva, of the form of auspiciousness. Then he goes on to explain that. He says, Sarva Desha, Sarva Kala, Sarva Vastu, Vyapti iti Atma. What is Atma? Atma is that which is in all places, which is pervasive in all places, at all times, in all objects. Atma is that which pervades all places, all objects, at all times. That is Atma. That is what is Atma. Tvam Pratyagatmasi Sadashivosi. See, in the first sloka, Hastamalaka says, Sanithyopalabde Swarupohamatma. In the last sloka, 12th sloka, when we come to there, when we go there, we see Tavapiha Vishnu. He brings in Vishnu there. So meaning what? That Vishnu is all pervasive. This Atma is all pervasive. This Atma is that Vishnu. That Vishnu is this Atma. Both are not different. Paramatma. All are not other than Brahmatma. That is Brahman. That is why here Adi Shankaracharya ji, Upakrama, Upasamharas, both are one. That is what it is. Starting sloka what he says, ending sloka what he counts as Vishnu. Both are. That Vishnu is Sarvavyapi. Even in that name it is said, Vyapanishilatvatati Vishnu. We will see that when we go to 12th sloka, the last sloka. So, that is what is being referred here by Adi Shankaracharya ji. It is all pervasiveness. Vishnu also is all pervasive. This Atma is also all pervasive. So when he says Swarupoham Atma, the same Swarupa is Vishnu. That Vishnu Swarupoham, that is what he means to say. When he says Swarupoham, that Vishnu Swarupoham. I am that Vishnu Swarupa. So he says, continues further to say, he says, Atman means that word which indicates or which teaches or which gives the knowledge of Paramatma. What a beautiful statement. The word Atma teaches the knowledge of Paramatma, if you go deeply into it. Gives the knowledge of Paramatma. Indicates the knowledge of Paramatma. Indicates when we are in the beginning stages. Teaches when we surrender. And gives the knowledge when we accept everything as the grace of God when it gives us the knowledge. The same word Atma, at three different levels of our sadhana, of our evolution, it gives three different things to us. At one level, it gives only indication. At second level, it starts teaching. At third level, it gives knowledge. Same Atma. That is what is Atma. That is why Adi Shankara says Atma means Paramatma. Paramatma means Parabrahman. And then he refers Aitreya Upanishad, Chandogya Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad. Citing from Aitreya Upanishad, he says, Atma va idameka evagra asit. This is the statement. In that, he says, the word Atma is to be noted. Atma va idameka evagra asit, Aitreya Upanishad. Then from Chandogya Upanishad, Sadeva somyedamagra asit. Sat is the word to be taken from this, from Chandogya Upanishad, says Adi Shankara. Then he cites Taittiriya Upanishad, Yato va imani bhutani jayante tad brahmeti. So, Brahman is the word you have to take from Taittiriya Upanishad, says Adi Shankara. Then he says, put three words side by side. What is said as Atma in Aitreya Upanishad is same as Sat in Chandogya Upanishad, is same as Brahman in Taittiriya Upanishad. Atma is equal to Sat is equal to Brahman. That is how he brings the equation. Aitreya, Chandogya, Taittiriya. Atma, Sat, Brahman. So he equates all and says Sat is equal to Atma is equal to Brahman. All have equal meanings. So Atma means Brahman. So when Hastamalaka says Swarupoham Atma, Aham Atma, that is what Atma I am. When he says that Atma is, he is teaching Aham Brahmasmi. That's what Adi Shankara interprets. So Nityopalabdhi Swarupoham Atma. When he says Swarupoham Atma, the statement is indicating Aham Brahmasmi. I am that Brahman. This is what is the essence of this text, says Adi Shankaracharya ji. So Brahma Atma Aikya Rupa Akhandartha Pratipadanam is this main essence of this text. What is this text trying to tell us? Brahma Atma Aikya. That Brahman, this Atman is Aikya. That Ekarupa Akhandartha Pratipadanam. It is trying to tell us that meaning that it is Akhanda, divisionless oneness. That oneness is this Atma. That is what you and I are. Mr. Natwar was bargaining with a salesman about the price of a hearing aid. And he asked this salesman, tell me the price range of hearing aids. Price range. He said, starts from 20 rupees to 20,000 rupees. Hearing aid. 20 rupees to 20,000 rupees. And then Mr. Natwar said, I don't want to spend much on this. Show me the 20 rupees hearing aid. Then that man placed something around his neck and said, please put it around your neck like this. And then plug this button into your ear. Then he plugged it, plug this button. Then run this wire into your pocket. Hang something around your neck, plug the button into your ear, run the wire into your pocket. And then Natwarlal asked, how does it work? Salesman said, 20 rupee hearing aid doesn't work. It doesn't work. Then what is all this? When others see you, that you are hanging something around your neck, plugging something in your ear, that wire comes down, they will start speaking loudly. That is how it works. When we have to do sadhana, we have to invest some energy. If you want to be stingy and then you want cheap sadhana, it will not have any effect. Shravanam, really we have to listen to Shravanam of Guru Vakya and Shastra Vakya. उसमें कंजूसी करो तो कुछ भी सुनने नहीं आता, सुनने आया तो भी समझ में नहीं आता, समझ में आया तो भी confusion होता. That is how it is. We have to be more clear in this. Once, US Airways announced a special offer for all business people who are very busy and traveling every now and then. They announced a special offer. to attract, because competition in airlines and all that. This offer was, if you take your wives along with you, half rate only, half fare. You need not pay full fare. If you are going for a business trip, if you want to take your wives along with you, pay half and take wives. Special offer. So, a bumper offer. So, it was packed flights. After 6 months, the PR department in US Airways wanted to know the opinion of the wives of the businessmen. Offer was given to businessmen, not to wives, but they can take their wives. So the PR department wanted to know after 6 months, to review, so that they can get more closer to family and all that. So they sent this note, and then the PR department says it was flooded with letters, mails, enquiring. All wives started enquiring, which trip, what trip. Now you know what happened. All businessmen took their partners, but not their wives. Reality cannot be sidelined and ignored. Whatever offer the world gives, every offer that the world gives is tempting only, but the offer will mislead us. The real offer is only given by the knowledge, that transcendence of bondage. So we have to pick up that real offer here. One person was talking to his friend. I started script writing for Hindi movies. Script writing for Hindi movies. Since 5 years I am doing this. They met after a long time, so he is telling, started script writing for Hindi movies. Since 5 years I am doing this. And that friend asked, have you sold anything? Have you sold anything? He said, yes, my house, my car, the gold ornaments of my wife, I sold. What he asked, have you sold any script? Did you sell the script? Nobody is ready to take that script. Our ego also keeps on writing scripts after scripts. Nobody is ready to take. This script writing has to stop. That is why the other writing has to begin. Somebody asked, a school student, teacher asked the school student, why the Prime Minister's speech is so long? Why at times President's speech is so long? School student. The student said, because they have nothing to say. They have nothing to say. Because they have nothing to say, they don't know when it is finished. They keep on saying. They have nothing to say because they don't know what to say, but they keep saying. They don't know when to finish. That is why speeches are long. When we do not know our own true nature, we keep saying, but we don't know what to say, but we continue to say. We continue to say, we keep on saying. So that is why here we have to go beyond the scripts of the ego and sayings of the sense organs and the mind, and listen to the sayings of Astamalaka and Adi Shankaracharya ji. So it is said here, Nimittam Chakshuradi Pravruttau. This portion, Adi Shankara says, teaches about Pratyak Abhinna Paramatma, the Supreme Self, that it is not different from this Pratyagatma. And this is what is described here. Adi Shankara says, this is telling about Tatastha Lakshana. Then he says, Nitya Upalabdhi Swarupa Hamatma. This portion explains about Swarupa Lakshana. Tatastha Lakshana, Swarupa Lakshana. Finally, it is only teaching Brahma Atma Aikya. So then, now the question rises, Are the mind, eye and other organs not capable of functioning on their own without the help of the conscious self? And what is meant by the statement that the self is of the nature of eternal consciousness? These questions will be taken up in the next verse. So we will take it up tomorrow. Vasudeva sarvamidam Vasudeva sarvamidam Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat Sarvam Vishnumayam Jagat Brahmamatramidam sarvam Brahmamatramidam sarvam Sarvam Brahmaiva sakalam jagat Sarvam Brahmaiva sakalam jagat Bhutani Vishnurityadya Shatakotha Sahasrashaha Vishwasya Brahma Bhinnatve Jayanti Shrutayopi Cha Jayanti Shrutayopi Cha सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ हरिः